If you clicked on this video, you probably already know what is badge engineering. But for those of you who don't know, badge engineering, also known as rebadging, is the act of applying a new badge to a car already made by a different company. This is done when a certain manufacturer doesn't trade in a certain market, or when a lazy company wants to sell one car under like 4 brands. Most of the time, rebadged cars aren't very interesting, but sometimes they are, and today I will be talking about those cars. The interesting and often strange cases of rebadged cars. This is Autofill, and I hope you enjoy this video. To start this video, let's talk about a car I doubt you know even exists. In fact, it's the Mazda 121. No, not that one. No, it's not that one either. Dang Mazda, why do you make so much 121s? What I'm talking about is the 121 Super Mini, sold from 1996 to 2001. It was introduced to the South African and European markets as the successor to the previous 121, also known as the AutoZam Review, as it was named in Japan, which had been discontinued in Europe the same year. Unlike its predecessor, the new one is a product of lazy badge engineering, being based on the 4th generation Ford Fiesta. The two cars are practically the same, being built on the same production lines, using the same parts. The 121 also uses most of the Fiesta's engines. This was during a time when Ford and Mazda had a partnership together, which lasted from the mid-70s all the way to the mid-2010s. Because of this, the two companies made a lot of different cars based on each other, with the 121 being one of the many vehicles to come out of this partnership. Now then, despite being a rebadged version of a car sold in the same market, the 121 was still somewhat popular, I guess. A couple thousand must have been sold, as you can still find these cars on the road, although they are very rare. I myself have only seen 1 or 2 in the flesh. When it comes to the 121's demise, it was discontinued in 2001 and was subsequently replaced by the first generation Mazda 2, which is still sold to this day, currently being in its 3rd generation. Overall, the Mazda 121 is a pretty strange rebadged car, due to its origins and obscurity. Here's a car that you probably don't know about, unless you're British. I'm talking about the Vauxhall VXR8. Beginning production in 2007, the VXR8 was Vauxhall's super saloon that challenged the likes of BMW's M5 and Audi's RS6, among others. With a choice between 3 V8 engines, each measuring over 6 litres, the VXR8 was a mad invention, with the most powerful version producing 552 brake horsepower. Now then, you're probably wondering if this car was really the product of British engineering. Well, it sadly isn't. The VXR8 is actually a HSV Club Sport from the land down under Australia in disguise. The Club Sport itself is a tuned Holden Commodore, which makes the Vauxhall a rebadged version of a car that's already rebadged. Somewhat of a rebadged mouthful, am I right? Anyways, the VXR8, despite never entering luxury territory, was in production for quite a long time, getting a facelift in 2015 and being discontinued after a decade of production in 2017. The British Australian Super Saloon ended production for a rather sad reason. General Motors, the owner of both Holden and Vauxhall, closed all of the former's factories in Australia, ending the Club Sports as well as the VXR8's production. This was pretty sad, but thankfully, the VXR8 was discontinued on a good note. with the last VXR8 to be made being basically part of a limited edition powered by an almighty 587 horsepower 6.2 litre V8 unit. With all that said, the VXR8 was quite the car, even though it was rebadged. Now here's one for all of you Americans watching this video, and it's not one, but rather a couple. You see, American manufacturers like Chrysler and GM love badge engineering, and when I say love, I mean love as in passionate love, like a husband and wife loving each other. These companies love to make money, so why not sell one car under like 6 brands? Genius, am I right? I'll present you with an example, Chrysler's minivans. Ever since 1983, when the first generation of these minivans was introduced, they have always been sold in at least 2 versions. Initially, there were only the Dodge Caravan and Plymouth Voyager. Not long after that, the Chrysler Voyager came along as a version meant for European export. And then after that, the Chrysler Town & Country began production, taking the number of total minivans to 4. A couple of years later, by the time the 4th generation of these minivans came, the Plymouth brand had ceased production, and the total went down to 3. In the 5th generation, Lancia got its own version, and Ram also briefly produced the minivan in panel van form. Along with that, Volkswagen even got their own version, meant specifically for the American market, called Rutan. This took the total up to a whopping 6 rebadged minivans. The 6th generation, however, settled down a bit with the rebadging nonsense, with the Chrysler brand selling the only version currently produced. Now then, that's quite a lot of minivans, and when it comes to American manufacturers and rebadging, this is only the tip of the iceberg. I could go on and on about these cars, like, I don't know, GM selling the Chevy Spark under 8 different names and brands, or Ford selling the first generation Escape as a Mazda and Mercury. Heck, I could make an entire video about these cars. Anyways, I've gone a little bit too ahead of myself with this topic, and so we're going to move on. Next up is our last car for today's video. It is the Cadillac Catera, a rather obscure Cadillac. The Catera was made as an entry-level model in the Cadillac range to compete in the E segment. It was marketed from 1996 to 2001. All of those characteristics are pretty normal, but what about the strange stuff? Well, the Catera was built at Opel's factory in Rüsselsheim, Germany. Why was it built there when the Catera is an American car meant for the American market? Well, that's because the entry-level Cadillac wasn't entirely American at heart. This saloon is basically the same thing as the Opel Omega Executive Saloon originating from Germany. Per tradition, when it comes to badge-engineered cars, the Catera and Omega shared the same engine, the same body and the same parts. Wow, who could have expected? Now then, let's answer the question. Was the Catera a success? Well, no, not really. During its 5-year production run, GM only sold around 95,000 Cateras, which isn't much. All that said, the Catera did end up getting a successor in the form of the CTS, which was then succeeded by the CT5. So I guess the entry-level Cadillac dream lives on. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, why not give a like and subscribe? Oh yeah, and by the way, thank you so much for 16,000 views and nearly 500 subscribers. I'm really shocked at this amount, and I'm really happy that I'm receiving so much support from my viewers. If you have a video idea that you'd like to share with me, then feel free to share it in the comment section down below. This is Autofill. See you later.